road here. If you would put your telephones on vibrate or turn off the speaker or whatever. Again, welcome everyone. Should have an exciting program today. If you will stand, and Mr. Ed Sneed will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The minutes, did you receive your minutes this time?
Anyone who didn't, there's some extra ones.
Okay, there was one correction in the minutes, and that it says the correction is, the October meeting is Sunday the 7th at 2 p.m. for the World War I presentation at City Hall in Tennessee Ridge. Is that correct, Banana? Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes with that correction?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Ms. Betty, do you have the breath to give us a financial report?
Yeah, I believe we do. Our income for this month was $160.45. That was $20 for dues and $90 for books. We got a refund from the Arts Council. We paid our half, for the grant impersonator, whatever it was. And they had a, donation basket out there. Well, we got $50 out of that. There was $100 in there extra. By the time they paid all the expenses and everything, Elizabeth came by the house and she said, we got an extra $100, so they gave us $50. So we got a $50 refund on that and interest of 45 cents. So our expenses were $160.45, leaving a balance in the account of $5,405.08, and our CD is $10,911.21.
Okay, good deal. Is there a motion to accept the financial report?
So yeah. Right here.
Second on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The old business, we got a little old business going on here. Like I mentioned before, Jackie and Donald have the World War I presentation in October. If you will give us a synopsis of what's going on with that and how you're progressing.
Okay, we've got information on several of the World War I soldiers. If anybody has any pictures, information, or anything, we'd still love to have them. Jerry, I think on the website's got our address and the flyer and stuff on there. Email them, call us. If you've got something that you need scanned, we'll scan it, give it right back to you. We're not going to keep your documents and everything with it. So we've got several people. We'd still like to have some more information. We picked up a couple today. So.
And if you would like to present any of the stories or biographies, we would like for you to let us know. We need some readers.
Yeah, if anybody's interested in participating in the program, October the 7th, 2 o'clock out there at Tennessee Ridge City Hall.
Miss Betty, do you have an update on the Tennessee Ridge sign?
I talked to George this afternoon. He is wanting a picture of the sign where we had the outside outline of the county, that little plaque, and the line from I've got a picture of that line of the county, but the little line that runs through showing where the bridge came into the state, through the state and out. And Bob probably has it, but he's got 30 volumes, about that big.
Donald has one that he gave me. I'd be glad
And it
to
has the
share
line.
faintly.
Okay, well, I need to give
Okay,
to George,
I'll
because he
take
called me today and I said I'll start. But the thing about it is, he's got 30 volumes here at the house, and they're all about 2 or 3 inches thick. And some of them have pictures and some don't, but Melinda took home 6 of the volumes that's just pictures. So it may be in there, but if you've got one, I won't bother her. I just wanted to him should be able to.
That piece of tin is just slick. There's no relief or anything, so he's going to have to draw.
Yeah, well, he said he had a new printer and it would do it, and he can do this, and he does it on heavy plastic, and then he can put it on the sign, and then he's got a coating clear coating. Oh, he talked to me a long time.
Okay.
Clear coating that will go over that and will preserve it, you know, George.
We won't have to be doing that.
Words.
Okay.
And, but anyway, we talked quite a while, and I told him, I said, I will look some more, so I was going to Hendersonville, but if you've got one, I want it. I'll
get that to you.
They have later.
Vanetta, do you have a bricks update for us?
Not really.
They're paid for.
They're paid for, they're in the basement, just, it's up to the city now. Paul did say he has someone in mind to lay the bricks.
Is the big one in the basement too?
No, they're waiting for the slab. Dixon Monument did not, they wanted to bring it when the slab was in place. They don't want to move it more than once.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next program in September will be Billy Frank Morrison. If you got that on your minutes, 7 o'clock, September the 11th. And then the next meeting will be the Danville reunion at 9 a.m. at the McKinnon Community Center. That's on a Saturday. The next day will be our October the 7th, 2 p.m. World War I presentation by Jackie and Donald. There is a sweet tea and Southern arts event.
It's next week.
Next week, there's a flyer on the door to tell you.
It's the 24th, 25th, and 26th at St. Shenanigans.
Okay, and then the Houston County Fair will be September the 19th, Wednesday, September the 19th through Saturday, the 22nd of September. Is there any more questions, discussions, or?
Yeah, I did want to say that on Saturday, the 25th, during Sweet Tea in the square, there are a group of students from Joe Burns High School that are going to be cooking a fundraiser for the Jeffrey Cox family. They're going to start at 11, so y'all can come down, have lunch, get the yard show, and
Just make it.
make a day
Make a
of
day
it.
out of it. So I'll turn the program over to Dan and Charles. Thank you.
I'll start by saying I really can't remember when Charlie Sweeney wasn't my friend. We've been running in some of the same circles occasionally since 1968 or so. Dean Preston ran us around the field a few times when we played football. Charlie was a good player and I wasn't. I don't remember the coach ever getting on Charlie very hard, but he told him, if Coach Preston had told him to run through a wall, he wouldn't have. About 10 years ago, I was sitting in my office in Charlotte, Tennessee, and my administrative assistant came in and said, "Your friend, Charles Sweeney, is out there and wants to talk to you." I said, "Okay." I always made time if I could for Charles. And he came in and he said, "I've got a request." I said, "Okay." I knew he was going to be hard to turn down. He said, "You know, I'm working at TVA," and I knew that. And he said, "They're having a Veterans Day program." And he said, "I want you to come and I want you to present to me 7 medals that have never been publicly presented." I said, "I'm entitled to that." He said, "Well, you sure are." And I immediately started trying to walk backwards because I said, "Charlie," I said, "I wasn't in the military." I said, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing this. I'm not qualified." He said, "No." He said, "I've got a right to pick anybody I want to do this, and I want you to do it." So I reluctantly agreed to do that. So I went to the TVA at the plant, had a nice crowd there that day. They had 5 honor guards who were retired Marines. And they were dressed similar to the way Charlie is tonight, and all of them had stripes up and down their arms and the chest, maybe not quite as many as Charles has, but several. And Coach Preston was there, and we had a good day. And among those 7 medals was Charlie's 2nd Purple Heart. And in 36 years as being a state employee and a prosecutor and 24 years as district attorney, I count that circumstance, that day, is in my top 5 most important things I ever got to do. And I appreciate him doing that. And I appreciate being here tonight. It's still an honor to have that opportunity to present Charlie. And what we're going to do here in a minute is talk. Let Charlie do the talking. I'm going to get out of the way. He's supposed to talk about 10 minutes. Tell us about his, a little bit why he was a Marine and what, a few things about a quick overview. And then I'm going to pose a few questions to him. And I told him, he said, why are you involved in this? And I said, well, they're afraid you talk too long. And I changed what I was going to say in opening because I saw this letter tonight. I was afraid y'all wouldn't see it on the table and read it. But it says a lot of how I feel. This is from the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General A.M. Gray.
General Al Gray.
Al Gray. And was he a 3-star or a 4-star? 4-star general. Big deal. It says, Dear Gunnery Sergeant Sweeney, the Marine Corps has been your occupation and family for many years past. And I'm certain the memories, interests, and future of the Corps will remain with you forever. Many desire to attain your accomplished goals, but few can compare to you. You have clearly demonstrated the exceptional leadership qualities and professional contributions we seek of our senior Marines. We are proud, and as you must be, of your most successful career. As a teacher to young Marines, a source of wise counsel, and as an example of those soldierly virtues we so admire, you have made a mark on the Corps that will remain long after you have left our active ranks. There are many young Marines you have influenced who will carry on the same fine tradition that has always characterized the United States Marine Corps. You have my best wishes for good health and continued success in the years ahead. Sincerely, General Al Gray, United States Corps, Commander of the Marine Corps. I think that says a lot, folks. It is my privilege and honor to introduce to you my friend, Gunnery Sergeant Charles Sweeney.
I'm glad to be here. Some of you I know for back when I was a kid. Used to walk down the College Branch and eat Sunday dinner and stuff. But I started out my career in the Marine Corps Groundhog Day, February 2nd, 1971. I was still a senior in high school and enlisted in the Marine Corps. And they told me, said, well, we'll let you finish high school, then you can visit with your friends and family for a couple of weeks, and we'll send you on to boot camp. Well, 2 weeks to the day I graduated on May 28th, June 14th. On May 28th, I graduated high school. On June 14th, I was on my way to Paris Island, South Carolina. I got to Paris Island, South Carolina at 1 o'clock in the morning. They told us they were going to scrub the civilian dust off of us, so we took showers and we headed for the barber shop. First time I ever had a barber haircut at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it started there. 13 weeks later, they said we're going to send you to Camp Geiger for further combat training. So I went to Camp Geiger. Then they said we're going to send you 10 days to leave, and you will report to Camp Dillon, California for staging. When I got, after I left on leave and got to Paris Island, or to Camp Dillon, I was headed for Da Nang, Southeast Asia, Vietnam. I did 2 tours in Vietnam. First tour was pretty successful. Second tour was not quite as successful. I got wounded in September. I was due to rotate in December '73, and I got wounded in September and I spent 6 months in rehabilitation. And I come out of there, and they said, okay, we're gonna send you to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I go to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. They said, we ought to apply for embassy duty. I said, okay, so I applied for embassy duty, and I had to go through a bunch of schools. I had to go to language school. I speak 3 languages. I was in defense language school in Washington, D.C., and I went to etiquette school. I didn't know the Marine Corps had them kind of schools, but I didn't do too good in etiquette. and dancing school. Okay, and that came in later because they had plans for me. I was initially supposed to go to Moscow, Russia. Then about 2 weeks before I was to leave Henderson Hall, Arlington, Virginia, they said, we're changing orders to Ethiopia, East Africa. And I said, where is that? So I got looking, I'm in East Africa. I get there, and they said, okay, we got something else for you. We're going to send you back to Washington. You're going to be on a special duty, PPSU. Okay, what's that? It said, personal presidential security duty. You're going back to school. You're going to be personal bodyguard to, at that time, Richard M. Nixon. I said, okay. I didn't know what I was getting into down there, and went to further schools, etiquette school again, more dancing school, more language school, and then I get there and reported in, and they went and said, okay, wherever the president goes. I said, nobody knows where my family don't even know where I'm at. So, oh, we'll let you call. I'm going on the SALT II talks to Damascus, and I'm in Air Force One with President Nixon. And he said, well, if any of you boys want to call home, go ahead and call home. Okay. So I pick up the phone. Once you pick up the phone on Air Force One, you're instantly talking to the operator at the White House. I gave her my mother's phone number. Of course, you can hear everything that's going on. And my mother answered the phone, and she says, hello. She says, ma'am, this is the White House operator. Hang on, I'm connecting you to Air Force One. Then there was a big lull. I go, did she faint or what? And then my mother gets back on there and she says, Charlie. I go, yeah. She says, where are you at? I said, I'm about 30,000 feet in the air. She says, well, where are you going? I said, I can't say anything else. I'm just letting you know everything's fine. She said, well, you got a lot of explaining to do when you get home. Okay. And it had a lot of prestige to it. I traveled all over. I was supposed to stay out of the limelight, but sometimes I got caught up in it because they get a picture in where I got caught in, but they didn't recognize me too much. But in my 30-year career, I spent 19 years overseas, and that's not counting the 5 years I did on Navy ships out of the sea, too. So I got 20-some-odd years traveling around various countries. I got so well known in some countries I had to leave the country because I got on special duties and stuff. And I worked for, while I was with Nixon, I worked for President Bush. Before he was president, he was the director of the agency. That's about all I can say about that. And I'd get certain orders, and I'd show up and do whatever I had to do and come back. And then when I got off of presidential duty, I was glad. I said, well, I'm free of this. I go back to Ethiopia because 2 weeks before President Nixon resigned, he sent all the Marines. Because what they did, they paired one Marine with one Secret Service agent. My Secret Service agent, he had to stay in the base. The Marines, they scattered us throughout the world. So I went back to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And what the reason for that was, they didn't want any reporters talking to any of the Marines. Well, there was no reporters that followed me to Addis Ababa. I showed up there all by myself. So I got, that went along pretty good, and then Mr. Bush became president, and then I got orders back to Washington again. Because I had worked with him in the past, I wound up back on there, and I was with President Bush. But my biggest joy with President Bush was the First Lady, because her and I became big friends. And she could fix a good poor boy sandwich. We'd be sitting out in the hallway outside the rooms there, and she'd come out and she'd say, "Any of you boys hungry?" And Chuck Oates, my counterpart, he said, "Marines are always hungry." That's Charlie always. So I'd go down there and she'd open up the refrigerators. She'd fix a sandwich. We'd be sitting there eating, drinking iced tea. I talked to her for 45 minutes or better. And I got pulled out in the limelight one time. We had a cocktail party at the Marine House. Well, not Marine House, but at the embassy. And Miss Bush come up there and stand. So that dancing came in pretty good. So I had a chance to waltz with Miss Barbara Bush. And I headed for out of the limelight after that. I was with, when I was in Nixon, I had a chance to go and party with Henry Kissinger. I don't know if any of you know him, but he made headline news one time about a belly dancer. I know all about it because I was there. me and the other President Nixon asked him, he says, "Henry," we were at the King David Hotel in Jerusalem, Israel. He said, what are you gonna do tonight?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "Me and these Marines are going to go out and party." Well, we wasn't partying because we were armed. We were just with him. Went out there with him down there, and this belly dancer came out, and she's doing her dance and everything, and the Marines and I were looking at each other. I said, "Well, she's getting kind of close." And the other Marine said, "Well, I don't think she's got any weapons on her." And believe it or not, what that night made headline news with Kissinger on the news about being at that belly dancer down there.
Did she sit in his lap?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, she was all over him like hog on slop. Wasn't nothing going on. But we just sitting there, and I don't think she's got any weapons. So we got back, later on we found out that was going to cause a little escapade back in Washington, and it did, but the Marines weren't involved. We were innocent that time. But my career just kept going, and I still got a clearance to this day, and they sent me a retirement thing, and there's a letter. I got it laying over there. Third paragraph says, "Be advised, you can be recalled at any time without notice." I called them up when I read that. I said, "Listen," I'm talking to Headquarters Marine Corps. I said, "Listen, I'm retired. I'm out of this down there." "Oh, no. Marine Corps is different than other branches. It says, when you become a senior staff NCO or an officer, you're never really retired. We can call you back if we need you, if you got special training and stuff like that." I said, "Well, what if I just don't show up?" They said, "Oh, we'll get your attention." I said, "How you gonna do that?" They said, "We'll stop your retirement pay." I said, "You'll have my attention." I said, "Look," and I've been called back. I was called back when I was working TBA. I had to go to Israel, and I come back, and I'm involved in a few things now, but that's not much. And it's just keep my nose on the grindstone and keep me active. I'm required to take a physical every 6 months. I said, "Well, I must be getting older. I take physical more often." And I got all my shots. I had to get all my shots like anybody's been in the military knows you walk the gauntlet with the needles and stuff. And I've done that already. But other than that, I'm trying to go through this pretty quick because I could really carry on. But I spent a lot of time in the service and had an enjoyable time. Not all of it was enjoyable. When I got wounded, and living in the rice paddies and foxholes with water up in my neck. I can't. To this day, I can't stand to take a shower. I'll crawl in the tub and take a tub bath. I can't stand to get rained on. It burns me up. I get mad instantly. But that's about my 30-year career in a nutshell. And of course, like I said, I spent over 20 years overseas counting sea duty and stuff like that. I got, and I also went, in all my schooling, I've been to about 70, I got about 75 different diplomas, and I was in BUDS, I don't know if you know what, but I was attached to a SEAL team. I was in 4 free company. As far as my awards and medals go, I've been awarded 65 ribbons and medals. 64, 65. Other than that, they tried to keep me busy. And when I went to Desert Storm, General Alec Ray showed up. Of course, I was going to see him anyway because I already signed my retirement papers. And he says, "Oh, that's too bad, so sad." He said, "You've been involuntarily extended. And besides, Gunny, you're not going to retire till I do." And I said, "Sorry, that don't sound good." So the general let me retire all back to duty June 30th of 91. And he retired July 1st. So he kept to his word about me. He wasn't going to let me retire till he did. That's, anybody got any? I'm better at answering questions than I am.
Well, let me pose a couple to you.
Okay.
Let's get away from the military a little bit for a second. Tell us about your duty in Memphis, Tennessee.
In Memphis.
Yeah.
Oh, I got stationed in, I went on I&I duty in Memphis, Tennessee. Now I'm stationed downtown Memphis. It was a truck company. I&I stands for Inspector Instructor. It's a truck company changing over into an infantry unit. Okay, so I get down there and I'm supposed to train these truck drivers how to be infantrymen. You know, that's like trying to train a goat to be a house pet. It's hard. You know, so I spent a lot of time working with them and everything, and it turned out pretty good. I did 3 years there, and of course I was closer to home. I was up about every other weekend up there with my granddad, and of course he had a few things for me. I was digging post holes, you know, carrying on. And Miss Finley, she was superintendent of schools, and every time I come home, she would take in, "Wait, you need to go up and talk to the school students." I said, "Okay." Also, one thing I forgot, O.S. Uffman. How many remember him being superintendent of schools? Okay, I had went through all that training in Washington, and I come back and they said, "We want you to talk to the school." Okay, so I go up there to the high school, which is now the middle school, and I'm in full dress blues. I walk in there, and Mr. O.S. Uffman, he's laid back with his feet up on the desk, and he seen me come through there, and he pops up and he said, "Oh, I got to talk to you, Charlie." I said, "Oh, what?" He said, "What'd you do? What'd you do?" I said, "I haven't done nothing yet." They want me to talk. He said, "Are you in any trouble?" No. He said, "Well, just a few weeks ago, the FBI was here and they wanted to see your school records. They want to talk with your teachers. They want to talk to anybody that knew you." That's all. They were just doing a background investigation because I was going through the school there at Henderson Hall, which is just down the road from the Pentagon. I said, that was normal. I said, "They're just doing a background investigation on my clearances." And the highest clearance I ever held was crypto clearance and White House access, eyes on. And now I'm knocked down to FTS, final top secret right now.
Tell them about the getting charged of Toys on Tots.
Oh, Toys for Tots? Okay, I get the I&I there, of course. Toys for Tots thing is done by Marine Reserves. And Captain Kranz, he was the I&I CO. He says, I was a sergeant then. He says, "So I'm going to put you in charge of Toys for Tots." I said, "I thought that was a reserve deal." And he said, "Well, we're going to control it because it's hard to get the reserves to do it." I said, "Oh, gee." That's all right. So I had to go around and solicit, you know, Toys R Us and different places like that. I knew this one fella. He was a Marine Corps fighter pilot. So I went to see him, and I got a chance to talk to him, and he said, "Well, yeah, I'll help you out." Now he was the CEO, and the president and owner of this particular company. And I said, "Okay, you're gonna help me out." He said, "Whatever Marine you can get in full dress blue, stand on the corner and collect toys." He says, "I'll have a secretary out there, and she'll be looking nice." I said, "Well, it probably won't be hard to get any Marines out there." So we got the Marines, and he had his secretaries out there all over Memphis. And I collected over 400,000 toys. I was taking them to Millington Naval Air Station and tractor trailer loads. And I went back to thank him and appreciate that. And he says, "You ever want a job here?" He says, "Just let me know." I said, "When I do retire, I'm going back to the farm." I said, "Memphis is a nice place to visit, but I'm not going to live here." Down there. And this fellow I'm talking about, I don't know if you've read it, his name is Fred Smith. CEO and owner of FedEx.
Yeah.
And so he fixed me right up. And I talk to him every once in a while. He'd get elderly now, you know. I try to keep a young mind about myself. That's what young people.
Charlie, did you ever get a chance to, you talk about flying on Air Force One, did you do any other flying with any of the higher ups?
I got backseat qualified the F-14 Tomcat because I got told I was going to be security for Admiral Kelso, he was the Admiral of the fleet. And I got pictures here where the pictures were taken with me I was taking the pictures sitting in the back seat of the F-14 Tomcat. I had to go to Oceana there in Virginia, near the beach, Virginia Beach, where they do the testing and qualifying for backseat qualifications for the F-14 Tomcat, where they put you on a rail and you're strapped in and they slide you into a swimming pool and they flip you all around. You got to be able to keep your composure and swim on out. So yeah, but I had a lot of experience with that because I'm what they call dual qual. I'm scuba qualified and jump qualified, so I did a lot of diving out of the air into the ocean anyway. I was kind of used to that part of it.
I'm going to pull one more out and then we'll let go to questions. Tell us about the nurses that you were involved in a rescue with in Ethiopia.
Okay, I was in Ethiopia and Addis Ababa, and there was an army hospital in Eritrea, which is kind of northern. It's like a country of its own. It's northeast of Ethiopia. So I got sent up there. There was 5 nurses in this army hospital left. So I get up there, and these nurses, I was to get the nurses out. I was trying to get them out the next day. So we were in the hospital there, and they had like a coup going on. Well, there was grenades going off outside the hospital and stuff like that. I gathered them up, got them out of there, and they kind of took a liking to me. So when I got them all out and got them back to the army base and everything, I'm back at the embassy at Addis Ababa, and one of the Marines calls up at the chancery at the embassy and said, "You need to come back to the Marine House." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "There's 5 women up here looking for you." I said, "I'm innocent, whatever it is." I hope there was in 5 nurses there looking for me because they were out traveling around up there because they had a chance to get up there to see me, and they came on up there. It was pretty good. I tried to stay out of trouble.
Let's open it up for questions.
In looking back at everything you shared, and there's no way looking forward you knew any of that was going to happen, is there anything about that in any way tested what I would call your patriotism?
Yeah. When I was on presidential bodyguard duty, now that was the highlight of my career because I was down in the trenches a long time, but to get on that duty, one of the last things you did, I had to be interviewed by the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And all us Marines were that were assigned this duty. And his phrase was, if the president gets shot, there better be a dead Marine because I will court-martial you if it's not that way. That enthused me a whole lot. I was very particular, very careful, and I looked at everything. Stay very alert.
That's good.
Is that the same commandant that you, when he visited the carrier, that
Oh, no, that was,
recognized you?
during that time frame, it was General Wilson. General Wilson was a Medal of Honor winner in Vietnam. He was a commandant at that time when I was on embassy.
But I'm talking about the time that you rousted one of the generals out of his
That's
sleeping
General Al
bag.
Gray. He was a 2-star at the time.
Tell them about that.
Okay, I was in Force Recon, and we were training on the beach, at Onslow Beach out there, Camp June, North Carolina, and I got up one morning, I'm making a head count. I'm the senior Marine out there, I thought at the time. And I went out there with 15 Marines, counting myself. Well, I count 16 sleeping bags. I got 15 of them up. One sleeping bag is still over there wiggling. And I told the Lance Corporal, I said, you go over there and you tell that Marine to get up out of that sleeping bag, and if he don't, I'm gonna kick his hind end out in that ocean. Down there, the Lance Corporal goes over there, and he's kicking the sleeping bag. Hey Marine, you need to get up. Corporal Sweeney gonna be over here, he's gonna kick you out in that ocean. As the sleeping bag unzipped, and here's General Al Gray, 2-star. He used to do that kind of stuff. That Lance Corporal come running back to me, he says, Corporal Sweeney, said, we're going to jail. Why, what's the matter? He says, that's General Al Gray. He's the one who's, oh God. So he gets up, gets a big wad of tobacco, goes eat you tobacco, come walk on to him. You Marines, gather around, gather around. Who's in charge of this bunch? I am. He says, good job, good job. And he says, I was watching y'all, and I did good. He said, I'm gonna go on back. Well, I was expecting to hear some kind of trouble when I got back. Nothing was never said. The General didn't care. General Al Gray was a Mustanger. He was prior enlisted. He worked up to the ranks of sergeant and then went to OCS and then later became Colorado Marine Corp after he went through the ranks. And that same incident followed me all the way to the time I was on the Marine detachment on the aircraft carrier of America. I'm up on the hangar bay. There's General Al Gray with admirals all around him. We're in port at Norfolk. He looks around and he spots me like a bird dog does. He just come right to me and he says, Marine, don't I know you? I said, I'm afraid so. He says, you look familiar. Yes, sir. I said, he said, what's your name? I said, Gunnery Sergeant Sweeney. Oh, I remember Onslow Beach back when you was a corporal. Yes, sir. Yeah. And you made Gunnery Sergeant now, too, huh? Yes, sir. He said, what are you doing on board here? I said, I'm the NCOIC, non-commissioned officer in charge of the Marine detachment. He said, where's my Marines at? 2 decks below. He said, take me to them. We go down there, boy, of course, they all snapped to attention. And I got 2 officers that's in charge of the Marine detachment, lieutenant and a captain. And he General didn't even want to talk to him. He said, just go sit off somewhere. And he said, you Marines, gather around, gather around. And I got the picture right there where they took of us when he gathered the Marines around. And he said, you Marines, he said, you know who your NCOIC here is? Yes, sir, Gunnery something. He said, you really know him? They said, well, no, sit down there. He says, trust me, if you go into combat, go stick with him, because anybody that will tell they're going to kick a general out in the ocean has got some testicles. Now, I cleaned that up. That's not his exact words. Because anybody that will tell a general he's going to kick him out in the ocean has got some testicles. And they just all look at me, you know. I said, well, the general's telling me. and so that was about it with the general. And I made him give him in Desert Storm when we were over there. And, that's when I got extended 2 years. I was going to talk to him about that. He said that's when he told me I wasn't going to retire till he did. And he told all the officers, but most of them didn't have any combat experience. He said, I kept every senior staff NCO that has combat experience. I extended them, stopped their retirements. He said, you officers just stand aside, let these senior staff NCOs run the show. You might come out of this alive, because at that time we didn't know how it was going to come out. And I said, sir, I want to talk about my retirement. He just grinned. He said, you ain't retiring until I do. I said, okay, yes, sir, I got that. So we went on about our business, and the staff, senior staff NCOs in the Marine Corps, the one that ran Desert Storm, in the Marine Corps. I don't know what they done in the Army, but we had so many officers that were they were there. We were teaching them. They were non-combatants, but they were just inexperienced.
More questions, y'all? This is one of the few chances you'll ever have to talk to somebody that knew 2 presidents of the United States and their families. Lived with them.
What was your sea duty? You said you had quite a...
Oh, I had 5 years of sea duty. I down there, the reason that was is because I got where I liked it overseas. I spent 19 years overseas in different countries and stuff, several. But we went on a 6-month deployment as a BLT, Battalion Landing Team, a task force, okay? When it was time, 6 months later, when it was time for them to come back, they were being relieved by another Marine task force. Well, they used to ask if anybody wanted to cross deck. And that means if anybody wanted to just cross deck over to the other unit and go back out, not go back to the States. I did that 6 times. Now, finally, they sent a message saying, Staff Sergeant Sweeney, you need to come back to the States because you got to take at least 90 days leave because when you're overseas like that, they don't take the leave away from you. And I had 120 some odd days stored up. I had to come back and take 90 days leave. So I come back and they put me immediately on leave because I had to use up 90 days. Well, I'm here a month, you know, now 2 more weeks goes by. My granddad, and you knew my granddad, I know, he looks at me and he says, Charlie, are you in some kind of trouble? I said, no, Grandpa, what makes you think I'm in trouble? He says, when are you supposed to go back to base? I said, oh, I got plenty of time down there. He says, you've never been off like this before. I said, well, I got orders to take 90 days leave because I was overseas. He said, oh, okay. I had to show him my paperwork. Yeah, I'm all right. I ain't in no trouble. Okay.
Sir, you said you received 2 Purple Hearts?
Yeah.
Was you wounded 2 times?
I was wounded in my second tour in Vietnam, and I was wounded in Desert Storm. I was wounded by a Chi-Com and going up and got shot down in a helicopter in Vietnam. And that's why I have no nerves in my forehead. It's all dead up here. And second time I got hit by a mortar round. That sand, it just buried down there when it just peppered my arms. That's where all these scars are on my arms. And well, they said, well, you got a Purple Heart. I said, well, I ain't got nothing that's going to stay in on this one. I said, they did a better job over in Vietnam. They had some stayed in. I still carry 3/4 pound of shrapnel in me. Been through 7 surgeries.
You did some jump.
I got 187 jumps. 5 of them are combat jumps, and a lot of the jumps were jumping out of planes or helicopters into the ocean and swimming in. Did that quite often.
Where did you get your jump training?
Huh?
Where did you get your jump training?
The initial one was bases at Fort Benning. I spent more time at Fort Benning than most Army guys did. I went there for Pathfinder school, jump school, MPOC school. He ought to know, he was at Benning.
What languages do you speak, Charles?
Amharic. Tanastalin Dimaladaru. Baka Ifalaru.
What is that?
That one.
This, and hello, how are you? Fine, okay.
What country?
That's Amharic, Ethiopian. Shofar. That means food, rice. That's the Mandarin dialect of Chinese. I had a chance to use that with over TVA. If you remember when them Chinese came over there and heck, what was that? Now I can't even think of his name, but the plant manager called me up there and said, I understand you know how to speak Chinese. I said, there's over 100 dialects, depends on which one you're talking about. And he said, well, we'll find out when they get here. So oh, what was that kind of man? It was right after, Don Johnson.
Bud?
He lives in Waverly.
Was it-
Moody.
Yeah, Bud.
Yeah, yeah, so we got there and they start talking, and doors open up at the elevator, they walk out, and Moody would say, what are they talking about? Oh, they're just talking about what we're gonna do this afternoon. They're just there walking around.
Anything worth sharing about on your aircraft duty? Any situation you'd like to share with us?
On the aircraft,
Yeah.
well, when we have when there's an alert, the Marines take over the aircraft carrier. I would normally go right up to the bridge with the CO of the ship, and my Marines would have designated places to go to, and we were there to guard special weapons, and we took over control of the ship. And I had one Navy guy on board the ship. Now you got to, on board an aircraft carrier, there's 6,000 Navy. There was only 66 Marines, and they said, and I had one sailor say, "There's only 66 of you Marines." I said, "That's all it's going to take." So, and I got bridge qualified, and the CO of the aircraft carrier at that time was Captain Laird, and believe it or not, he was a Marine, and when he picked up Lance Corporal, he went to Annapolis, and then became a squid after that. Went to the Navy, and down there, and he'd always holler at me going down the passageways. "Hey, Gunny!" "Yes, sir." He said, "I see you," because he kept track of who all was taking classes. Well, I had done signed up to take classes to be able to control the bridge on the ship, because Navy chief could do that. Well, I was a Navy chief. I even did the initiation that the Navy chiefs do when they go to get promoted to chief. I went through that. They said, "You don't have to go through that. You're already an E7." I said, "It's camaraderie. Go ahead and do your worst." So I went through it down there. I ate raw eggs, rounds, I called them, all that stuff. So went in there, and he says, "You want to be able to run the bridge?" I said, "Yes, sir." I told the SEAL, I said, "You'll know when I get up there too, because I'm going to put a rooster tail on the back of this sucker." He says, "No, He says, "I'll be on the bridge when you get up there." And sure enough, he was. He was on the bridge when I was up there spouting orders at the bridge. It was a lot of fun.
Which aircraft carrier was that?
Huh?
Which aircraft carrier was that?
USS America, CBA 66,
Was you on the same aircraft carrier all the time? Or?
the whole time. There was one NCOIC that got sick, and they sent me to the USS Iowa battleship, and I was just there 3 months till the gunny got back from his surgery. He had surgery, so when he got back, I went on back to the aircraft carrier. That aircraft carrier, it don't rock, it rides like a Cadillac. I was glad to be back on that sucker. Okay.
What about your time in Desert Storm? You have any observation about
How
the
it went?
situation in that part of the world?
Desert Storm was a cakewalk compared to Vietnam. Them people were surrendering to us so fast we just told them, drop your weapons and just keep walking back. And the first 6 hours I counted 3,000 of them were walking back. They just dropped, the regular basic soldier, he was done. He didn't want no more of it. But now we got into Kuwait, now the Saddam Hussein's elite Red Army, whatever they were called down there, they raised havoc in Kuwait City and left a lot of dead people, and they really molested the women and all that stuff. So when we got there, we would walk around. We would pull up there with a deuce and a half full of blankets and just cover the women up. They were They were just running around through the streets because they were all scared to death, and we done chased the Red Army out of there. And it was kind of dark at the time, so they had all the oil wells burning too.
Is there any more questions for Charles?
I have another question.
Okay.
With all your experience and watching now the nation and such, how do you feel? Do we need to continue to increase our military presence in some of these places? Or do we need to realign our military presence in some of these? And I'm not asking you as a reporter, I'm just asking you have a lot of information, you have a lot of knowledge.
I'd say we could strategically have some bases in some other areas that would be good, and but as far as more troops overseas, we can be anywhere in the world. Well, when Saddam Hussein hit Kuwait on August 2nd, August 8th, which was only 6 days later, I was sitting at the border of Kuwait. But they always had to have to get me and my crew in there quick, and the rest of the gang would follow in. But we were there, and nobody was going to go anywhere then because we had them all sort of all lined up. But you know, strategically, I wish we'd kept Subic Bay. We didn't. And we lost several bases over there. We lost Clark Air Force Base, Subic Bay. But they're realigning, and our first defense is these BLTs, battalion landing teams. Of course, I say look BLT, everybody thinks it's bacon, lettuce, tomatoes. Battalion landing team. You know, there's always 2 of them afloat, one in the Pacific, one in the Atlantic, and there's always 2 more ready to go, and there's always another battalion at Lejeune and Pendleton that's a standby battalion. They put them on C-141, C-130s and get them out. It's Marine Corps. I kept, the whole time I was in the Marine Corps, and I lived off base, I had a seed bag that stayed packed right there by the front door. I didn't know where I was going to be from one minute to the next. But and I got, when I was on presidential bodyguard duty, now my time wasn't my time on that duty. They said, okay, we're going to let you go home for 10 days. So I surprised my mother and went to Indianapolis, Indiana. I got there, let's say I got there today, and I was going to spend 10 days and then fly back. I had my return ticket and everything. So I get there, the next day, phone call. I got to report back to Washington. My mother says, you ain't going to get back. Says, they ain't going to fly. I said, well, let's go to the airport. I'll get on the flight. Okay, so we go to the airport. There's this nice lady in front of the counter saying, I said, I got to get back to Washington. And everything. She said, well, we don't have any flights. They're all full. And we don't have any flights till tomorrow or the next day or something like that. I said, ma'am, the next flight that leaves out of here, I'm going to be on. She said, well, we can't put you on there. I said, trust me, get your supervisor and bring him out here. So they brought the supervisor out here, and I said, she said, and he said, well, we can't run there. And that's when I pulled out to a thing and said, we'll have you right on that plane. But what I carried was a diplomatic passport. So, and my mother looked at me and she said, can you do that? I said, I just did.
Right.
We have one story over here from one of the
I
buddies.
want you to tell.
Are we
I'm
safe?
Terry. I cleaned Mr. Charlie's house. I've known him for 4 months, 4.5 months, and my son works for him. He's a great man. So, do you know what story I'm going to ask you to tell? There might be one curse word in it, I'm sorry.
You talking about
The burn.
she knows, they're talking about the outhouse. You know which one I'm talking about? Now, only way to make this sound good,
You got to use the word.
just pardon my language, okay? I get to Vietnam. Everywhere I go, they get me there at night. So I get there about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Reveille goes about 4:30, 5 o'clock. So they get us up. We shower and shave and everything, go eat chow, come back out, have formation. Well, they have now I'm only a PFC then, I'm a shower shoe. I'm new to the whole deal. And they're already sticking me in a combat outfit. So we was in Da Nang. Come out there, and this gunnery sergeant, he is that had us, he's fixing to rotate. He's just there to help out until his time to fly out back to the world, come back to the States. We have our formation. He's got 5 jerry cans full of diesel. He's got 5 wooden paddles with rubber flappers on them laying there. And he says, okay, Marines, I need 5 volunteers. You. Okay, so we step forward. He said, you 5, you're going to burn shitters. Now, there's somebody here that knows that we was raised in an outhouse, and not one time did I ever burn that sucker down. So, he got me, what? Burn? Now, there was no pre-job brief, like TBA does. There was no pre-job brief on how to do it, and they didn't teach that in boot camp. Okay? So, I got my 5-gallon can of diesel, and I got my flapper and everything. I'm going over to this outhouse down there. So, okay, it's dripping with diesel. I put the whole 5-gallon can of diesel on that outhouse and lit her off. I got black smoke going 100 feet in the air. Okay, here comes that gunny down there, and I'm calling everything with a white man. Down there, oh, this and all that. I mean, he's really carrying on. Down there, you done. Down there, about that time, here comes the first sergeant. What's going on? The gunny's still going on. I know, because I used to go off like that too. And here comes the sergeant major. Because I done got the sky black, he said, what happened here? I said, we were told to burn them, and I burned them. And the gunny's going, you dumb. And the sergeant major said, what, Marine, how long you been in the country? I said, I just got here last night in the middle of the dark. I said, and I'm still in the dark. I said, he said we had to burn them. I said, I'm burning. And he said, did the gunny tell you what you're supposed to do? No, he just said, go burn them. That's what he said. He said, there's a 55-gallon barrel cut in half. You're supposed to pull it out, pour the diesel in there. I said, well, he didn't say nothing about it. And I didn't have no 55-gallon barrel under ours when I was growing up. So, going there, and the sergeant major said, and he looks at me and he says, Marine, by any chance, did you check to see if anybody was in? I said, Sergeant Major, nobody was hot. He said, first sergeant, take care of it. And Sergeant Major, he goes all snickering. And the first sergeant, he just tells Gunny, get the hell of the engineers and build another. Now Gunny, he wasn't through with me. I was supposed to have 2 weeks orientation, get climatized and all that stuff. He told me in 3 days I'd be on my way to Quang Tri, where I was going to be stationed at up in the northern part of Vietnam. 3 days I was on that blame 6 by headed there. I I had front of the line privileges. He took me in front of every line so I could get my shot. I was out of there in 3 days. That was the only time I ever got a real, well, they got, I guess, I never was gotten on to in the Marine Corps other than that. That was the only time I ever got. And I watched my P's and Q's after that. But I never got in trouble. I got a clean page 12, as they call it. I don't know what they call it. Article, I didn't get no Article 15s and none of that stuff. So,
Better on the record.
yeah, I stayed on the Marine Corps honor roll, I guess you call it. I didn't get in no trouble, other than that one time. But they just laughed that one off. They couldn't, I told them, I said, he never gave no pre-job brief on that. Yeah, I couldn't understand it to start with.
Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you, Dan.
Everything I've done is ancient history now.
Do you have a table with some
Oh, I got all
if
kinds
they
of paraphernalia up here.
kind enough to let the people see that?
Oh, yeah, they
Explain
got
those on there?
Just let everybody come by and ask you questions.
Okay.
There's about-
If you see something, you got a question on, I just throw it
It's
in.
about a week's worth of program.
Thank you all again. Questions, anybody needs to come by or?
Congratulations. Good show, dude.
Say for me and Charles.